Mega Dragonite's angel-like wings on its head is such a specific design choice, and I definitely understand why it's a bit polarizing, but I'm not here to say your opinion on the matter is good or bad. I'm here just to explain the why it is the way it is. And in finding the answer to that, we can also answer why Mega Dragonite was specifically the only Mega shown in this particular trailer, and what all of that has to do with a favorite topic of mine, religion. So, your typical wing placement, just like with regular Dragonite, is immediately behind the shoulders. Think DC's Hawkwoman, X-Men's Warren, and the vast majority of the depictions of angels, but it's not the only option. Japan seems to like the idea of wings being below the waist in a lot of their media. My mind immediately goes to Gwendolyn from Odin's Sphere, who also seems to have tinier wings on her head, but are those just decorative? Morrigan from Darkstalkers is another example, also with the head wings. Lyrical Nanoha, 4 wings at the hip and head wings. It's one of the main features in this manga series. Yes, that's the reason people read it. It's all over Japanese media. Even the iconically Japanese Sailor Moon herself, when in her ultimate form, has these hip wings. Back wings too, but hip wings. It could just be that Japan likes to be cool and different, I suppose, but focusing in on the head wings now, we see that pop up a few times in Digimon, with Patamon, Cherubimon, Loosemon and his variants, Mastamon and Ophanimon if you count these ones attached to the halos around her head. Basically, all of the straight-up angelic Digimon. Is Dragonite angelic? According to the Pokédex, its intelligence is said to match that of humans. It is said that this Pokémon constantly flies over the immense seas and rescues drowning people. It is a kind-hearted Pokémon that leads lost and foundering ships in a storm to the safety of land. It guides crews of shipwrecks to shore. You'll often hear tales of this kind-hearted Pokémon rescuing people or Pokémon that are drowning. So I think it is. This is what guardian angels are said to do, and according to the official site, for Mega Dragonite, ending a Pokemon match quickly is an act of kindness towards its opponent. Its kind-hearted nature gets amplified when it Mega evolves, and it launches powerful attacks at its opponent with a smile. At the same time, if it senses someone in trouble, it has the kindness to instantly rush to their aid, even if it's in the middle of an intense battle. Love and kindness, to a fault, sounds rather angelic, no? And while Mega Dragonite doesn't have any wings on its hips akin to many Japanese depictions of angels and such, it does have the beginnings of them on its legs and shoulders, biceps-ish area, and even has the remnants of its original wings on its back. But 6 feathery wings, 4 of them are underdeveloped, but still, a 6-winged angel is a seraphim. And remember, this game takes place in Lumio City, based on Paris, a city with a lot of Christian history. In fact, medieval France often depicted seraphim with 6 wings, of course, but with 2 of them distinctly coming from their heads. I'm sure there will be those that doubt Game Freak wanted to reference a religion so specifically, but the thing is, they already did, with Lumio City itself specifically. In this concept art from X and Y for Lumio City, it's noted 12 main roads and 5 blocks that create the image of an étoile, which is French for star, and the motif is the same that the Arc de Triomphe at Charles de Gaulle Square, and the number 12 represents perfection in Christianity. I should specify, that's only in Christian sects that practice numerology, which was most of them back in the older times. But yes, X and Y was the first Pokemon game set in Europe, and you can't just ignore the most formative and historically influential thing in the area when making your game based on it. Anyway, I'm sure you'll all agree on that connection after I point this out. The goal of Lumio City was always to be the most perfect and beautiful of cities. Beauty was a major theme in X and Y. Even Lysander wanted to just make everything much more beautiful, but in his own twisted, antagonistic way. And in Legends ZA, they are working towards that goal even more so now, with new renovated areas, gardens, and whatnot. All with the goal of it being a perfectly peaceful city where humans and Pokemon can perfectly coexist. That really makes it like a Garden of Eden figure, doesn't it? A small paradise created by God in Genesis for humans and animals to live together in harmony. And what ultimately ruined that? Satan, a trickster disguised as a snake. Did you notice the snakes? in this particular trailer. The Steelix motif in the back, and use of Arbok by a rather dark yet beautiful looking Corbeau. Biblical demons aren't your typical goblin-y looking raw guys with wings and rotten flesh and huge teeth. They're attractive. The most attractive. This guy looks like a K-pop star put in charge of a criminal syndicate. Plus, remember the main Pokemon in this game, Zygarde. Its cells are snake-like already, as is its 50% form. And now, here's Dragonite, who, remember, evolves from Dragonair, who we also see in this trailer. A very snake-like dragon. And what does Mega Dragonite specifically do? It brings back more of its Dragonair elements, giving it more of those snake-like properties. In it being more angelic, though, is it a forgiven snake? Redeemed? That's a major Christian theme, but there's actually a few other themes involved here too. Kalos is more than just France. Geographically, it's just France, but in being the first Pokemon game in Europe, they of course pulled in all sorts of other European elements, primarily the Nordics and Greece. And Mega Dragonite having head wings is perfectly both of those. Valkyries are angel-like female figures who save the souls of fallen Vikings to bring them to Valhalla. Sounds rather guardian angel-like, and I'm sure you see the head wings on their helmets, but consider how much time Vikings spend on their ships. Suddenly, Dragonite's Pokedex entries of saving shipwrecked folk apply even more so. From the Greek angle, consider Hermes, who, like the Valkyries and angels, were psychopomps. They all guide souls to the afterlife. Hermes not only has a winged helmet, but also has tiny wings on his feet, akin to Mega Dragonite's little leg wings, and he carries a staff, a caduceus, which is both topped with wings and surrounded by snakes. I talk in depth about this symbol on my other channel, I'll link that video here, but to skip over most of its history, these days it's a symbol of help, swift medical help. That's why it's so often on ambulances, and why it very perfectly relates to that description we read of Mega Dragonite. It flies around quickly to help people in need. And here's a Pokedex entry. Figureheads that resemble Dragonite decorate the bows of many ships. First off, most Viking ship figureheads were of course dragons, but what are some of the next most common figureheads in Western history? Well, it was lions for warships. That probably doesn't apply, but for travel and merchant ships? Most often, bare-chested women, sometimes as mermaids, sometimes as angels, sometimes as bare-chested angels. The figurehead was seen as the spirit of the ship, and a guardian angel would help protect it, steer it clear of stormy winds and shipwreck. In fact, it's noted that the exposure of the breasts is specifically what calms the winds. I wonder if they thought the wind thought, oh no, woman on ship, I can't harm that ship. Or if they thought the wind thought,
ha, woman, if I blow too fast, won't get good luck.
But also, Valkyries themselves were very commonly depicted the same way throughout history. All bare-boobed. It's important to note that breasts being as sexualized as they are today is a much more recent development in civilization. But that's a tangent. But also, oh, is that why they didn't include Dragonair's upper chest necklace orb on this Mega Dragonite? I do think that would have tied the design together a lot better, but maybe they didn't want to imply, like, orbs. But I also can't help but think that the point of Valkyries and Hermes are supplemental. They're there in this Dragonite design, absolutely, but the biggest factor is, to me anyway, the idea of biblical guardian angels, hence the snake symbolism in the very same trailer. Plus, consider Dragonite isn't a fire-breathing dragon, it's much more a dragon of ocean wind. Quote, it is said to make its home somewhere in the sea. This Pokemon is known as the Sea Incarnate. It can fly in spite of its big, bulky physique. It circles the globe in just 16 hours. It is a master of flight, a master over stormy winds. It's so good, it makes the wind lose. But given that protection from the wind was the point of those figureheads, like, it's no wonder Dragonite figureheads are common in the Pokemon world, but this also brings to mind some medieval maps, both literal and cosmological. They typically had 4 angels in the corners, sometimes your classic depictions, sometimes just their heads blowing big winds, and sometimes they were angel heads with wings blowing big winds. Why? Revelations 7:1 is why. Were like those of donkeys. Nope. After these things, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or on any tree. Yeah, so angels got big globe-crossing wind power. Continuing on, though, then I saw another angel, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, saying, "Do not harm the earth, the sea, or the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads." So basically, it's Armageddon, and these 4 super wind angels must also protect those who are marked. This is part of what led to the more modern idea of guardian angels, and so we've kind of come full circle then. Especially since, while not most, some of these maps would also depict, at the same time as Jesus and his angels, feathery, winged dragons. Which only brings to mind the "here be dragons" and such on cartography maps of the Middle Ages. Don't go here, the waters and winds are dangerous. There's dragons. They had to make it scarier because people would think, oh, I'm a good enough ship driver, I can captain a boat through scary winds and waters, but if they say it's dragons, you know, it's more intimidating. But they weren't your typical fire-breathing dragons either. They were long, serpentine, aquatic, marine dragons. And also this guy. Wow, that is so much worse. I am sure that there is some deeper way of tying all of this together, but for now, this is just a rushed video. I've been out of state for a while, but thank you so much for watching. You don't have to like Mega Dragonite's design, but at least now you understand it. And I'm excited to see how much more biblical symbolism Pokemon Legends ZA will get. Expect a whole Dragonite line deep dive in the future-ish. Major thank you to our YouTube members and Patreon supporters who are ever more relied on to keep our lights on. And until next time, never stop using your noggin. Oh shoot, I'm not off camera.